Welcome back, friends. And hey, the moment has come. Fall camp is about to begin. First full team meeting today, and camp will be in session Wednesday. I can't wait. I know you're just as excited as I am. We're going to continue to break down everything that's going on when we get to 7 from 77. But before we get there and before I bring in my partner, Mr. Brian Bush, I want to let you know what's going on MGO Blue Podcasts. Recent guests on Defend the Block include Trey McKinney, Roddy Gale Jr., and Olivia Olson. And this week, we've got two guests for you. That's Elliot Cadeau and from men's basketball. And from the women's side, we've got Macy Brown. So really excited about what's been going on all summer long, both here on In the Trenches and Defend the Block. And the voice that you hear on Defend the Block, the voice of Michigan basketball, Mr. Brian Bush. Brian, how you doing?
I'm great. Good to be back with you on these streams. Excited for some fun additions and enhancements we're going to have with this. Moving forward, definitely encourage folks to check out some of the latest Defend the Block episodes. The Flint native, Trey McKinney. Macy Brown, someone who she's grinded. She stayed. She's a Grand Rapids native. Definitely enjoyed the conversation with her this week. Elliot Cadeau drawing rave reviews in practice. So excitement there. We'll have Conquering Heroes starting up here sooner rather than later as well. One somber note, I didn't have a chance to mention it on Defend the Block because I didn't hear about it till late yesterday. But very sad news about Greg Glenn III, a former Michigan Wolverine. Did not play a whole lot in his year here, but was always such a fun-loving young man. Really enjoyed getting to know him in his one season in Ann Arbor. Passing away this weekend due to a tragic accident. Don't know a whole lot beyond that, but definitely it shows you life is precious. And, we joke all the time about, it's, excitement for football and, we're bummed out football's not happening, but truly every day is a gift. And we certainly send our thoughts and prayers out to the Glenn family, the Tulane basketball family. That's where Greg was. Definitely some sad news.
Yeah, it's tragedy. Anytime we lose a member of the family, and whether they're here currently, have gone to play other places, or have moved on to anything else, they're always going to be a member of the family. So thoughts and prayers to his family.
Obviously, no easy way to transition, but we do start with our 7 from 77, talking about the fact that, as John alluded to, training camp is here. So take me back to your playing days, or even now that you are back in Michigan in your communications expert role? Is that the business
specialist? I don't think I've raised yet to the level of expert, but a couple more episodes, I'll be eligible for the title.
Yeah, 10,000 hours, right? That's what you need to be an expert on something. You got to be close. I mean, gosh, with morning show with this.
You got to have listeners that are awake for those 10,000 hours as well. Just
true.
Doing it by yourself is doesn't count.
Maybe there's a Janssen tax that makes it 15,000. But in any event, what does this stretch of the calendar mean to you? What memories come to mind about the excitement of right now, where an off season's worth of work is not about to culminate? That's August 30th. But it's really starting to rev up in anticipation of that here this week.
It is, Brian, and I'm sure you're very aware that times have changed and things are a little bit different now than they were back in quote unquote the day. But what I remember of my time as a player, the schedule used to set up that about 10 days before training camp, there were a couple of days that you could actually be in the weight room, but for a large part, you were not allowed to be there. So everybody went home for a little while, and then this was the time where you came back. Whereas now it was basically July 4th, that vacation week around the 4th of July holiday, guys were gone. Now they all came back, and it's simply just sitting around. I don't say sitting around. You're in the weight room with Justin Tress. You are with the coaches. You're watching film, and it's all a lead up. But back in the day, it used to be you're gone for 10 days. Some guys would take 10 days to get as out of shape as possible, and you would come back and have to run the Michigan Mile. Mike Gittleson, our strength and conditioning coach, would give everybody a time. Some of it was based on your personal ability. It was also based on attendance at the off-season program. So if you were there and putting in the work, you got a time that was a little bit more manageable. If you weren't, chances are your time was going to be very tight. And if you didn't make the time, you're going to have to be up every single day running that Michigan Mile, which ended up being a mile and a half because anyone can run a mile. But at Michigan, we run a mile and a half. You were going to have to run until Mike decided it was time that you had put in enough work that you missed in the offseason. So That's the way it used to be. Now these guys are around, they're in shape, they're ready to go. And they're really right now, just in Schembechler Hall, chomping at the bit, just waiting for that first full team meeting to set things in motion for what is an exciting time for this program. A lot of new faces, a lot of new players. We'll talk about some of them here. We spent the entire offseason talking about some of these new faces and some of the development of the young guys. And a little bit later in the show, I know we're going to talk about some quotes that Coach Moore had at Big Ten Media Days, all leading us into, what is to come in fall camp. Looking forward to getting things started against New Mexico.
What was the desired or required time for you to hit in your Michigan Mile days, and what was your best? Do you remember?
Yeah, my best was my fifth year, and I think the time was set at like 11 minutes. I wanted to break 10, and I came in just under 10 minutes at about 9:59:30. And again, 6 laps around the track, 1.5 miles. So at that time, it was I had both smokestacks rolling coming around that last turn, and I was giving it all I had. It wasn't a pretty sight, and it hasn't gotten any prettier since then. In fact, it's gotten a lot worse. But I made my goal, and the season didn't start off quite as well. That was the year we had 2 losses, but we did share part of the Big Ten championship. So everything all worked out for the most part in the end.
I'll tell you, I'm impressed seeing as you came in as a tight end. So obviously you weren't quite as bulked up as you would have been in your 5th year. And yeah, coming off the national championship, you didn't let it affect you too much. You weren't celebrating too far into the offseason. Good for you.
No, you couldn't. And you couldn't because we knew the task at hand. Nobody wanted to come in, obviously start with a couple of losses because of the pressure that was being defending national champs. That, Donna McNabb had something to say about that. Notre Dame had something to say about that. They still irk me, but we did win a share of the Big Ten title that year.
I mentioned difficult transitions, easy transition to move on from that into number 2 on our 7 from 77. If you had to sum up what this team did from January 1st, getting back from the ReliaQuest Bowl to now, how would you describe it? What strides did the program take these last 7 months?
From what I saw from the players' perspective, there was a lot of guys that were focusing on the basics, and they built on those through winter conditioning. And we had a chance to talk to a lot of the coaches. And this offseason, a lot of time spent with the players individually in meeting rooms, going over film, on the practice field, in regards to just that's the time that you take to work on technique. And then the technique builds on itself. Then you get the spring ball. And what I've really seen for this team in every single position is you don't want to go out there thinking about what steps, what hands, all of this, where are my landmarks supposed to be? Those need to be second nature. Now it's taking all of those things to the practice field, which we saw them do in spring ball. We saw some growth through that, but it's really developing the units, whether it's the wide receivers, defensive backs, linebackers, O-line, all working together to be better as a unit, so that when you come together in fall camp, that's where we are now, the offense can start at a different place than they did last year. The defense is further ahead than they were last year. Some of that is because it's the second year of Wink. First year of Chip Lindsey as offensive coordinator, but there's been so much work that's going on throughout this offseason. They're really going to be able to hit the ground running and start working on some deeper concepts other than just foot, hand, head placement.
If you missed it last week, mentioning the offseason work, Justin Tress, strength and conditioning coach for Michigan, was John's guest. Interview only, more than 20 minutes with Tress. Highly recommend that as kind of a precursor to training camp and a recap of what Michigan did in the gym in that regard. Number 3 on our 7 from 77. Big Ten Media Days last week in Big Ten country, Las Vegas, Nevada. For those on audio only, be sure to check out the YouTube live link that we do every Tuesday. John's laughing on that YouTube link about my Las Vegas. The heart of Big Ten country. I mean, I hope they add the strip to the commercial. That would be fun if it's like an annual thing or there's a Big Ten championship game there.
Don't egg them on. Big Ten championship game in Vegas. Don't even say those dirty words.
Hey, come on. Hey, be nice. Be nice. Because you might have to be out there. You have to be out there, next month, right?
Yeah, we're taking the morning show out there for a day, and it's
our guy Derek Stevens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
Big Michigan fan. Outstanding Michigan fan. So we can at least go visit him. That's fine. All right.
Yeah.
At the media day, some storylines. Let's talk offense first. Before taking any questions, Sherrone Moore said that QB1 is an open competition. Not surprising there. He compared the transfer wide receiver Donovan McCulley to, quote, what we kind of had with Nico Collins in 2019. Said Andrew Sprague right now in the lead for the right tackle spot, left tackle very much open. Andrew Babalola, Blake Frazier, Evan Link mentioned even more names for right guard. And Max Bredesen also said that Jordan Marshall, he has told Jordan at times in the weight room that Jordan should be blocking for Max, which is high praise from Max Bredesen. Those are my biggest takeaways. What do you think about those or anything else you heard from an offensive standpoint in Vegas last week?
What I heard was give Max the damn ball and just let him run downhill and see what kind of damage he can do. Hey, that dude, you put his head down, he's going to run through a brick wall. I guarantee he's going to fall forward, get you a couple of yards. But in terms of, the quarterback position, I don't think it's any shock that Sherrone Moore didn't name a starting quarterback, whether it's a Bryce Underwood, Mikey Keene, Jaden Davis, whoever it ends up being. They're going to have to go out there and prove through practice that they understand the concepts of the offense, that they can lead on the field, and that they can handle situations that come up where a coach is going to be on the field for you. How is a young player in Bryce Underwood going to handle some of those situations? Because week 2, we're going to Norman, Oklahoma. They're going to pop up. What's that look like? And they're going to try and put those guys in as many of those positions as possible so that it's not foreign to them. It's going to be new to Bryce Underwood. Mikey Keene's got some experience coming from Fresno State, but it will be new for Bryce. So they're going to put him in as many positions as possible, and they're going to make him go out there and earn it. And best man wins. That's the way it's always been in Michigan. It's the way it's going to continue to be, no matter how many stars you had next to your name when you were recruited, how many years of experience you have. And I love the fact that those guys are going to go out and compete. It's going to drive success at that position. The offensive line, this is where obviously a lot of eyeballs, not just mine, are going to be, because it will determine, I really believe, the destination of this team. Is it going to be a Big Ten championship team? Is it going to be a team that gets to the college football playoffs and competes for a national championship? And with those 3 guys competing at left tackle, if Andrew Babalola, just like the quarterback competition, can handle some of those situations, you mentioned that right guard spot. I really think that if Evan Link doesn't win that job, pushing him into guard, solidifying those 2 interior positions next to Kripp and Gio, and now you've got what Sherrone was talking about at right tackle with Andrew Sprague. To me, on paper, before we start, that sounds like a badass offensive line. That will set this team up for success. Now, that competition at left tackle, whether it's Babalola, whether it's Evan Link, doesn't matter who wins that position. And I'm really excited to be able to see Blake Frazier out there, riddled with injuries in his first year at Michigan, didn't get a lot of time in spring ball, but to be able to see him out there and competing for that job is going to be fun. You're going to have to develop depth at all of these positions, because as we have learned over the past couple of years, guy goes down, it's next man up. Talked about Gio a couple of years ago in Nebraska. It was, hey, helmet in hand, ready to go when a guy went down. All of a sudden, you go in, no one even knows what's going on except for people that are looking for any changes in personnel, but there's no drop in play. That's the way it's got to be at every single position, and as far down the depth chart as you can possibly go with guys that you're comfortable putting in there, the better Michigan will be for it. Donovan McCulley, I'm really excited to see what he brings to this offense, because like Nico, I don't know, I've got to see him out at, in scrimmage situations, game situations. That's high praise talking about Nico Collins, especially what Nico has done in the NFL. But Donovan McCulley does have the same body type, does have a very similar skill set where, hey, you could throw that ball up and you got a big receiver that can go get it. He's going to have to show that he can get some of those 50-50 balls, that he's going to fight for them, that he has the speed to get downfield, expose the middle of the field, maybe open some things up for Fred Moore on the edges, or Samaj Morgan, some of these other guys that you got to be able to spread the ball around to, tight ends as well. So I think he is a big part of this offense to be able to unlock everything that Chip Lindsey wants to do.
Yeah, Nico Collins in 2019 averaged a sliver under 20 yards per catch. Obviously not massive overall numbers, but when Nico got the football, big things happen. We'll see if Donovan McCulley can have a similar type of an impact. Number 4 on our 7 from 77, some notable defensive comments, thoughts from Big Ten Media Days. The player that Sherrone Moore mentioned that maybe had me raising my eyebrows most of all was saying Cole Sullivan would, quote, take the college football world by storm, end quote. No word on if it is a gift from the football gods, but if Cole is, I like his chances. Maybe he'll be a top 13 pick here soon with Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. Sherrone also said that the defensive line is 10 deep, 6 on the inside, 4 on the outside. Not earth-shattering to us, but definitely optimistic. And it seems like there's a lot to sort out in the secondary, though I did take in the fact that Coach Moore raved about Zeke Berry's work down the stretch at cornerback. A lot of talent there. Curious how Wink Martindale will utilize all of that. I think the main crux of what we see on the defensive side is that this team going into camp feels very deep and versatile defensively.
It does, especially in that front 7. And we've talked about Rayshaun Benny. We've talked about, a lot of those guys at that linebacker position, Ernie Hausman, Jimmy Rolder, I've been raving about. If Cole Sullivan can be added to that, again, it just unlocks what you can do with some of the guys on the front end of that depth chart. And I know that at the beginning of spring ball, the big conversation was about Rayshaun, how they were going to use him. Were they going to use him at linebacker? Is it edge rusher? The more ways that you can use a guy like that, the better. And you can do that if you have depth with Cole Sullivan, with Jimmy Rolder, with Ernie Hausman. So I'm really excited to see that. And I've been talking about Derek Moore for a couple of years. And this is the year where, hey, it's his position on that edge. And he's not going to have to be behind Josiah Stewart. There's no one else that's going to be taking reps. It's just go out there and play. I like the fact that he's got long arms, the good, quick steps off the ball. I'm really excited about what he brings to this defense. TJ Guy on the other side. I'm not going to go down the entire depth chart, but I think we were all excited about the interview I had with Trey Williams. If he could be a playmaker in there, those interviews are going to be epic. And we may have to get him his own on the Monday night program. We may have to get him his own segment.
Ooh, if you missed that one, my goodness. Let's just say there was a little bit of questioning about the need for substitutions along the defensive line versus, say, I don't know, the interviewer's career spot on the offensive line. Yeah. But we have to make you listen to it. It was so good.
Yeah, and just one thing about Zeke Berry. I've been talking about this all offseason. Last year, there were times in the game broadcasts where, Zeke was playing nickel, he was playing corner, and we were tough on him. And by the end of the season, playing all of those different positions, the way that he played in the bowl game against Alabama as a corner, I thought that was his best performance of the year. He's taken what he learned last year, playing all those different positions on defense, and has really honed in on that corner position. I think he has set himself up for a tremendous year. I'm excited about what I've seen throughout the offseason, his attention to detail, his need and want to be coached by the defensive backs coach, by Wink. I think he is a guy that, much like, Cole Sullivan taking the world by storm, we've been talking about Zeke. I think this is a year where he really takes off.
Pretty impressive. He was basically just a special teamer as a true freshman, and what he was able to do last year, ascending player. That's definitely Zeke Berry. All right, number 5 on our 7 from 77, the media day, we'll call it extracurriculars. Sherrone Moore did say there will be no more flag planting, the new tradition when winning a game. Quote, go see our band until the other team departs, end quote. Really hurts the Jason Avant negotiations for a contract raise there. So he's bummed, but I think it's probably right.
Hey, sometimes you're paid for what you're going to do. Sometimes you're paid for what you've done.
The Jason Avant hold in. I don't know if he ever, I'll have to look to see if he ever had a holdout in his NFL career. When asked about the rumored suspension, that was a report a couple of months ago that really nothing has been said by the program since. Quote, you can't worry about things you can't control, end quote. And the other quote was, we'll wait to see if it happens. And then Derek Moore, you mentioned him. He was willing to be out there with his comments saying that Ohio State's national championship was, quote, not a real win since they did not beat Michigan. Your thoughts on that and anything else, John?
Well, so I'll start at the beginning with the possible suspension of Coach Moore. We have no idea what that's going to be. We heard from the Big Ten commissioner, a letter that he sent to the NCAA, that he thinks Michigan has paid its dues, doesn't think a suspension is warranted. I don't know how much impact that will have on their decision-making process. And it's kind of the elephant in the room. What's it going to be? Is there going to be a suspension? Is there a fine? Is there a combination? Is there recruiting restrictions? All of those things are still up in the air. And there's really not much more there's been no breaking news. There's been no rumors. And so there's not much to say about that. I do like Coach Moore's philosophy on it's basically, hey, act like you've been there before. Go celebrate with the band. Ignore what's going on. You can only control to put these couple together. You only control what you can control. You win the game, go celebrate with the band, go celebrate with the fans. When it's clear, you go up to the locker room, celebrate with the rest of us up there. Make sure Coach Moore gets up there in time for that post-game interview. That's about all I care about. And it'll be fun that way for the crowd, for the fans, and for the teammates to be able to spend those moments just simply celebrating a win. And in regards to, was it Derek Moore that talked about the national championship? I think we mentioned this before. I don't know the next time that we're going to see an undefeated national championship or national champion. The road through the SEC, the road through the Big Ten, and I know there's a couple other power conferences. I forget what those are now. I say that jokingly, but it's going to be a tough road with conference expansion and the college football playoffs. It's going to be really tough to go through a season undefeated. You lose to your rival. That's going to happen. It doesn't mean anymore that you're eliminated from the college football playoffs. And we have obviously Ohio State as the reigning national champ. A lot of respect for them, the way that they recovered from that loss, the way they were able to go through the college football playoffs. So it's some of those comments are best left unsaid.
Yeah, and Sharon Moore was asked about it, and he, in essence, tipped the cap, said, hey, they played great down the stretch. In the playoff, they won the national championship. It adds a really unique layer to it. Here's the reality of where this is with the college football playoff, and that's if it stays at 12 long-term, if it goes to the rumored 16, there will be years, look at college basketball, there will be years where all 4 1 seeds get there, where the 4 that you would have put in were the ones who get to the final destination. There will be years like that in college football with a 12-team playoff. And there will be other years with chaos. And it's just the nature of a one-game setup. Last year, unquestionably, the best team in college football in the regular season was Oregon. They were the number 1 team. And then they got their doors blown off. Because one game can do a lot of things. It can make a big difference. And sometimes timing is everything. Which makes the preseason poll here, number 6 on our 7 from 77, certainly intriguing because there is no Big Ten preseason poll officially from the conference. Cleveland.com's run one through the writers throughout the course of the Big Ten over the last while now. I think it's like almost 2 decades. The top 5, and we've got it scrolling on the bottom of the video stream. Penn State picked number 1, then Ohio State, Oregon, Illinois, and Michigan. Top 10 rounded out with Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska, USC, and Washington. The rest in order: Minnesota at 11, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Rutgers, UCLA, Maryland, Northwestern, Purdue. Your takeaways on that?
I mean, Penn State has the most talent coming back. They got the most experience at quarterback coming back with Drew Allar, Singleton, Allen in the backfield. It's really just going to be a matter of, can they put it all together over the course of a season? And it, again, it doesn't have to be an undefeated season. You could be 10-2 and still make the college football playoffs, still win a national title. And, it gives a little, like we had just talked about, little, fodder for those teams that you may have lost to say, hey, we beat the national champ. Hey, that's great, but you didn't ultimately win the championship. Somebody else did. And so not surprised where they have any of the rankings. I am interested to see, because schedules are so different year to year. I know Penn State, they've got a tough schedule, but they've got the roster to go through it and possibly win a whole bunch of games. It's just going to be interesting to see when you look at Michigan's schedule, you look at Indiana's schedule, and that was the big conversation going into the playoffs last year. Indiana didn't play a lot of the top teams in the Big Ten. The team that they played was Michigan, and it wasn't a great year for Michigan. So what is Kurt Cignetti going to do in his second year when he took the job? I mean, we all remember his comments, very bold, very brash, and he backed him up in year one. So what's he going to do in year two? I think it's going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah. Looking back, I mean, it's pretty epic. I think what's interesting is that everyone's just kind of putting Illinois in that mode where, hey, I think they're very good. They bring back a lot of talent, but Indiana was picked second to last. Illinois is being, a lot of people are picking Illinois to make the playoff, which tougher to sneak up on teams, and we'll see what happens there. All right, number 7 on our 7 from 77. One thing looking long-term here, Michigan announced late last week the program is in ongoing discussions to move its 2026 opener to week 0 and play in Frankfurt, Germany against Western Michigan. That would be August 29th. Next year, Labor Day is later. So that is week 0, even though this year, week 1, Michigan will kick on August 30th. Your thoughts?
It will be a great experience for the student athletes. And Ward said this in the press release, right? I mean, they've been, in the last 5 years, they've been all around the world, from Rome to was it South Africa? They've had a chance to expose the student athletes to a lot of different cultures, a lot of different things that go around in this world that, in the US of A, in Michigan, in Ann Arbor, you don't get exposed to. One of the great things that I've had in my life is the opportunity, most of it's been here in the United States, but the opportunity to see things and go places I may have never gone as an individual. I don't know if I'll ever go back to Germany, but the opportunity to go there and get that experience, whether you're 49 years old, I had to do the math there real quick, 49 years old, or you're 18 years old, it's a great opportunity. And I had a chance when I was playing for Washington to go over to Japan and play a game. Again, don't know if I'll ever go there, by myself, but to have that experience with your team, to have that experience in your life, it's a big deal for these kids. And it'll be interesting to see the fans who wants to go over to Germany, to Frankfurt for that game. And the only other takeaway I have is Michigan is giving up a home game. They're not going to do it for free. So there's going to be, and I don't think that would be a choice for a program like Western Michigan. So, there'll be some money coming in from, sponsors and other people over in Germany that want to have a game like this over there, want to have a program. Michigan is one of the very few programs. The Block M is known around the world, and it'll be a great opportunity for Michigan to sell itself over in Germany and to expose a lot of, whether it's future athletes, future students, future alumni, about what Michigan is, what it stands for, and how awesome it is.
I'm glad it's coming in a year with 8 scheduled home dates. Now it might be 7 home and 1 neutral that will count as a Michigan home game, because 2 things can be true at once. It's a super cool potential opportunity. And also, hey, I know you'd like to play all 12 games at the Big House. Not how it goes, but it's good it's happening in a year like next year where there's 8 scheduled home games for now, and not in a year like this where it is 6 and 6. All right, that's our 7 from 77. On the audio side on In the Trenches, it is an interview with Rayshaun Benny. And on the video side, we got a little more Big Ten Media Day breakdown. I want to get to some of the questions and comments here that we've gotten so far. On the chat, always encourage that. And we're going to be back pretty much every Tuesday between now and hopefully it'll be a fun one, maybe the morning after the national championship game, which is on a Monday.
Yeah.
You might still be awake. We could do an early morning one there and just pull an all-nighter. Ghost Hunter asking if there'll be the daily Inside Michigan football videos. I think he's asking about the Ed Kingerski reports. Those will keep coming along. We'll have the Inside Michigan football TV show. There will be a preview show for that. So the Sunday before the opener, that is August 24th, Doug and John will be on that for you. So looking forward to that. Keegan asking, John, is Evan Link too big to help at center, in your opinion?
Not necessarily. I don't know that he has Not sure he's ever snapped. I don't think I've seen that in practice. It may be a part of his skill set, but I really see him not just as a guy that can help Michigan out this year at the guard position. And he may end up winning that left tackle position, but he's good. I project him to be more of an interior offensive lineman at the next level. If he hasn't, he should start snapping a ball. You want to be able to play all three of those spots, and it just adds years to your career. Right now, Greg Crippen, I think, has that center position pretty well locked down. But we'll see what happens in training camp. I mean, everything is on the table at this point.
Say hello to Jamie for locking in. Looking forward to the amazing defense this season. Our guy Ferris Khan giving us the reminder that it has been 2,068 days since Ohio State beat Michigan at football. To put into perspective, that's a long time. That is 2,977,920 minutes approximately, if you want to have an even more impressive number there.
Okay, yeah. And I know he followed it up with, after we were talking about, hey, the Derek Moore comments, his next one was, so because you get mulligans, is the game just a game now? Michigan won the last 3 games. What is it? Michigan won the last three games matter.
Three games that matter. Yeah.
Outside of Columbus and Ann Arbor, outside of those fan bases, maybe it doesn't have as much juice as it used to, but I guarantee you, if you go down to Columbus, that game still matters. If you're walking around Ann Arbor, that game still matters as much as it ever has.
Look at how differently we perceived last season versus what we were thinking after Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
It does not mean that it was a completely successful season. I don't buy in the thing that, hey, you can lose all your games and beat Ohio State and it's a successful season. I don't buy that. Michigan has gotten to a point where there are more goals, right? This team sets 4 goals every year: beat Michigan State, beat Ohio State, win the Big Ten, win the national championship. But it's very clear that that goal in a vacuum can still have a massive impact. And that's why, to the same token, it was important that Michigan held on against Michigan State, because vibes would be very, very different had Michigan lost that game for Michigan State, because they put so much into it. So it's not the be all end all. It is still the game, but it does, you now have some different ways to, because remember, Ryan Day, a lot of people wanted him fired in Columbus, and then credit, they had a 4-game run. They made a big impact, but that does not mean that he has no pressure going into the game next year. He will probably be the singular individual at the crux of it again. Why? Because he has not won the game since 2019.
Right. And you ask, and I brought this up before, having played with a number of Buckeyes in the NFL, their mindset as players is, yeah, we want to win that game and we want to win it bad. It matters a lot, but the goal is always Big Ten championship, and it's a national championship. But when you talk to the fan base, and you mentioned it, hey, it's not a successful season in Ann Arbor if you lose all your games, but you beat Ohio State. Down there, that feeling is not quite the same. That game is the number one thing that fan base points to every single year. That's why when you bring up, hey, it's been 2,068 days
until now. Now they don't, because circumstances. You talking about alums or fans?
Fans.
Yeah. I mean,
fans, they're lunatics. They're bizarre down there. And
well, but it's changed because the math changed, because they won a national championship. And again, credit to them. It was a heck of a 4-game run.
Okay, but, Brian, yes, you and I, as logical individuals, believe the math has changed. But if you ask fans down in Columbus if they would have given up that national championship to beat Michigan, I guarantee you more than half of them would say they would rather beat Michigan.
I don't think we'll be able to pull many Ohio State fans. I don't think this is quite the place they drop really into at 11:45 in the morning on a Tuesday. I welcome their thoughts, but yeah, I'd be curious about that. Thanks to our guy Kinetic here, 50 people watching, only 15 likes. Like the video. Yes, we are going to be doing this all year. Subscribe, like. We're going to have some new fun things with this as we get closer and closer to the season, trying to bulk up the YouTube side of things. So spread the word, like it really does go a long way. I got about 15 minutes or so. I did want to, we talked about the Big Ten preseason poll. I think it's really interesting to analyze Michigan's league schedule based on that. Of course, Ohio State, number 2, end of the season. But after that, Michigan does not play a team in the top 7. They play teams 8 through 10, 12, 13, and then the bottom 3. Does not mean that those games are easy by any stretch, considering 8 and 9, Nebraska and USC are on the road. Yeah. But this is I'd say it's probably a couple levels more favorable schedule than what Michigan possessed last year in the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah. There's no Oregon on the schedule. The difficult is not necessarily in the opponent, but sometimes it's where you play and when you play them. That trip out to USC is not going to be an easy trip. Now, nobody's picking USC to win the Big Ten, but there's so many factors that you don't know. I don't know that there would have been anybody that picked Indiana, even though they had a lighter schedule last year, to run through the Big Ten like they did. So every year is going to be a little bit different. We look back at the preseason polls, and sometimes we miss on a lot of things. We miss, and the fact that there's going to be some injuries that happen during training camp. They can be very impactful injuries in terms of roster, especially now that rosters are going to be a little bit limited. And moving forward, things are changing. So to sit there and say that, yeah, is it as hard as last year's schedule? Well, it doesn't appear to be that way now. But what's USC going to be? What's Nebraska going to be? Those are 2 tough road games. Wisconsin, Luke Fickell. This is a put up or shut up year for Luke Fickell. They're going to be out there and trying to make a name for themselves. One of their best opponents is going to be Michigan. One way to create job security is to play well and beat some teams like that. So by no means is this an easy schedule, but you're right. At the way it looks now, the way it sets up now, before a snap, before a practice, it doesn't appear to be as difficult as it was last year.
You say it a lot that, teams circle Michigan on the schedule, and they do. But you look at where a handful of these programs are, and you can stretch it to the non-conference. There's a lot for Brent Venables going into that game. Because if Venables loses to Michigan and Oklahoma alum Sharon Moore, and then a few weeks later loses to, I think, probably the favorite right now to win the national championship in Texas in their early season rivalry in the league, he's probably dead man walking in terms of his job. Then week 4, Dylan Raiola, sophomore year, one of the most anticipated Nebraska seasons in a long time. You mentioned Luke Fickell, and they have a brutal schedule, probably the toughest in the country. USC and Lincoln Riley. 2 year 2 coaching setups with Jed Fish and Jonathan Smith, Washington at Michigan State. There's a lot of juicy storylines that really belong more to the opponent, who, if those teams prop up a Michigan win, that could go a long way in saving a job or in taking that level up for those programs.
There's no question. There's some program victories that are out there. And so it's really going to be for this team, for Michigan's team. And we started off the audio portion of this with what's it been like this offseason? What has Michigan done throughout this offseason? Well, there's a lot of other teams that are working really hard to get better. And Oklahoma, they've gone to the transfer portal a lot offensively, and Mateer, their starting quarterback, at least as it stands right now, they got from Washington State, and he's a dual threat guy. That is, when you're talking about dual threat guys, he is the definition of a dual threat guys. Over 3,000 yards last year passing, over 850 some odd yards on the ground last year. You put him behind that big offensive line, and it just becomes even more of a threat. So that's just one example. And again, it's Lincoln Riley at USC. He didn't forget how to coach. He didn't forget how to recruit. We just don't know a lot of the names right now, but every year there's names that pop up. We're like, where did this guy come from? And all of a sudden you got different contenders for Heisman trophies. You got different contenders for national championships. So a good lesson to be learned early by a lot of young players is going to be, what do they learn? How do they handle going to Norman, Oklahoma? Because that will help when you go to USC. That'll help the week before when you're going to Lincoln, Nebraska.
And then if Michigan does its work early, the 3 games leading into Ohio State are against the 3 teams picked to finish at the bottom of the Big Ten. So do your work early, and then you could really set up to make November 29th the
even
game.
more special.
That's right. Penn State, something's got to give, John. Number 1 in the poll, 4-20 against top 10 teams under James Franklin. So
hey, Coach Franklin, get those pom-poms ready. Let's get those let's get those cheers ready. Hey,
what gives? What gives? What gives? Do you think they are, let's just say this, what percentage would you give Penn State to reach the college football playoff?
Oh, shoot. I'd give them about a 90% chance to reach college football playoffs. I mean, they were there last year. And they've got most of those key, players, positions back. They're the team in the Big Ten because you look at Ohio State, they're replacing a quarterback and with an unproven, commodity. You look at Indiana replacing a quarterback. You look at all these teams, they're replacing the quarterback, Michigan included. But Penn State has a guy that made an actual decision, could have been playing on Sundays or at least been on a roster, would have been in the conversation of being a first-round pick, was self-aware enough to say there's a lot of things that I got to continue to work on. What type of work did he put in the offseason? And it's really going to come down to players are going to go out there and play. What type of quarterback, what type of leader is Drew Allar going to be? I believe they're a college football playoff team. Are they a Big Ten championship team? I don't know. Are they a national championship team? That's where history tells you it's not likely, and that's because of the history that James Franklin has of playing top 5 teams.
Will be interesting. 90% though. Interesting. Talent-wise,
college football playoff. I'm not saying it's 90% to win a national championship.
No, totally.
It's 90% that they're going to be in the college football playoffs.
The roster is 90%, but I got to believe it. I got to see it to believe it. But
cheerleaders make a difference in a game. Cheerleaders matter.
When I interrupted you, were you going to do a "we are"? Was that what I talked over?
That was James Franklin. We are.
No, I know. I wanted to protect you so that it wasn't cut up in like a Penn State video or something. Yeah. Some quarterback news for Michigan opponents this year. Wisconsin, Luke Fickell praising Maryland transfer Billy Edwards Jr.'s work so far this offseason. He's in line to start in a pivotal year for Fickell in Madison. Northwestern naming SMU transfer Preston Stone as the starting quarterback. And Dylan Raiola, he was at Media Day. He hasn't shied away from saying about all the big expectations. Nebraska's ceiling, he says, is a national championship. Their first 3 games before Michigan, it's in Kansas City against Cincinnati at Arrowhead, then Akron and Houston Christian. So they'll be likely 3-0, certainly at worst 2-1. If you're looking at a team that is outside that top 5, teams that are pegged to finish as real playoff contenders, Nebraska, to me, I could see Nebraska jumping into the top 5. I could see Nebraska falling out of the top 10. I think they've got as much fluidity to their potential finish as anybody.
Well, they've got a good coach, and that's always going to give you an opportunity. But for Raiola, right? It's prove it through 12 games in the regular season. He wasn't able to do that. He was a freshman. He was a highly sought after freshman, committed to a couple of different places, settled where his old man went at Nebraska, and he had a good rookie season, good freshman year. It's the same thing with Drew Allar. Go out there and prove it. You haven't yet. You haven't won a national championship. You haven't won a Big Ten championship. You've got to go out there and prove it. And that's why this game is not played on paper. This game is played. You got to go out there week in, week out. You got to stay healthy. You got to execute. You can't have any weak moments. And it's a gauntlet. It's really, really tough to do, and probably tougher now than it's ever been.
I think the perfect encapsulation of what all the coaches and players should have said in Vegas last week was what Kirk Ferentz said. It's on the bottom of the screen there. I have no idea how good we are right now, it's as honest as you're going to get. Right?
he's great. Yeah. And he said, I don't know if it was at Big Ten Media Days or just before, like he wants an extension. He wants to continue to coach there. I love Coach Ferentz. He has been as good as you're going to find of finding raw talent, developing it into whether it's good offensive linemen, good running backs. They have missed on the quarterback. Even Cade, when he went there from Michigan, just couldn't stay healthy. They thought they had a guy that could, take them to the next level. But that's why I talk about, it's hard to stay healthy in this game. You got to have a couple of quarterbacks. You got to have depth on the offensive and defensive lines. You got to have playmakers on the outside. You got to have good coaches. It's really tough to do. And we're going to we may look back on this, Cleveland.com, ranking and look at it and go, how did we miss on a certain team? Or how did we overrate, or how did we inflate this team so much? It could be as early as 3 or 4 weeks into the season. Same thing when you're talking about a preseason, top 25 poll. We'll look at some of those teams and be like, where did they vanish to? What happened to these teams and other ones that are going to step up? That's the beauty of the season. It's the beauty of playing the game, and it's what makes it so exciting and fun.
100%. I have no idea how good we were today, but it was always good to join you, John.
Damn good. Damn good.
The best.
Yes.
The best. It was the best July stream we've done, because we did too.
Yes. Yes.
And this one was closer to the season. But
yes.
By God, we are going to be great in August, weekly, pretty much the entire rest of the way through the calendar year. So we are back, locked and loaded. Be sure to check out Wednesday's audio podcast on In the Trench. 5th-year senior Rayshaun Benny. Always a fun conversation. John, any final thoughts as we rev this up? Training camp's here.
It is, and there's going to be a couple of days shorts and skirts, and by the time we talk next week, we'll have some full padded practices. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to hear it. Wish I could feel it, but we'll let you know everything that's going on in and around Michigan football. Football season is here. The long wait, the long dreaded offseason is over.
For John, I'm Brian. We'll talk to you next week, 11:15 Tuesday, right here on Michigan Athletics YouTube.